we go. It is another episode of Talk Your Talk. Breaking news, Marcus. We had to get on and talk about this one, man.
Facts.
Breaking news when it comes to this. Donovan Mitchell has been traded. Donovan Mitchell has been traded, and it's not to the Sixers. It's not to the Heat. It's not to all them other teams you thought it was. It is to the Cleveland Cavaliers. We got full details coming out right now. Marcus, obviously, we got to talk about it here on Talk Your Talk. Donovan Mitchell traded to the Cavs. We'll go over the full
Yeah,
details in a minute. What was your initial I mean, it's literally just happened. What's your initial
yeah,
reaction?
man. This is like one of the more shocking trades because the Cavs were nowhere in the conversation. It was Knicks, it
Yeah,
was Heat, it was like you said Sixers. The Cavs kind of made it. Thinking about it though, the Cavs got the assets,
they
so
got a lot of
I
assets.
think I
So
think it could be a good trade for them.
let's run through the full details. You got them pulled
Yeah,
up?
yeah, I got him. It's so Cavs get Donovan Mitchell. The Jazz get Roy Markkinen, Ochai Agbaji, Colin Sexton, three unprotected first round picks, and two pick swaps.
That's a heavy deal, but it's like the Cavs still retained a lot of the talent that they had. Like I thought they were gonna have to give a one of their young guns, Sexton, Garland, somebody like that, in order to get it. They kept
Yeah,
them all.
man, it's crazy. I thought they were gonna have to give up at least either Allen or Mobley. I thought for sure. Um, so seeing that people forget about Sexton. He was hurt last year. But he's a good player. He averaged like 20 2 years ago. He's a good player
Yeah,
though. So
and
you
I
got to
mean,
think he's getting a new deal as well from Utah
well, we
if they're
saw
trading for
Cleveland.
him.
We saw Cleveland like make that major push last year. They were strong
Yeah,
early on, and then they kind of tailed off towards the end of the year. But getting a player like Donovan Mitchell now, where does that put them in the East? Because there's some heavy, obviously there's heavy teams in the East. You talk about Miami, Boston, the Bucks, the Sixers,
yeah,
even teams like Chicago. Like there's some heavy hitters in there. Does that put them in that top five for you, or the Nets? I forgot even about the Nets and the Hawks.
yeah.
Like, does that put them up there in that top five now that they got Donovan?
I got the Cavs at like 5'6". I got the Cavs at 5'6". We run through the team. They got Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. You got Mobley, Jared Allen. You got Kevin Love. You got Karis LeVert still. Like
Yeah.
it's a squad. That's a squad, bro. That's
I
a
forgot about
squad.
him even too,
Yeah, you
man.
forgot
That's
about Karis LeVert, man. Like that's a squad. So I got
they're deep.
yeah, they're deep and I think they're well rounded. Like their whole lineup is well rounded. I think you look at their teams like I know we talked about the Nets have gotten better. Obviously, Kevin Durant coming back. The Heat is kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
I think PJ Tucker was a big loss for the Heat. Um, so I got them in like that 5'6" range. I know
Now,
they
if
were
you're
in the
watching,
play-in last year. So
yeah, if you're watching, drop your thoughts on this trade. We want to talk about it. Obviously, we're going to get a lot more into the details of it. But Donovan Mitchell's been traded to the Cavs. When I look at those top teams in the East, right? I'm looking at the Nets and I'm looking at the Sixers. This team is young. Like to me, I feel like if they come in hungry, this is going to be a team that competes because they got the dogs like that you want. You got Colin Sexton, Garland, like you mentioned, Evan Mobley, Karis LeVert. Like this team is deep as it gets. To me, this reminds me a lot of like that Hawks team because that Hawks team even last year was pretty deep.
yeah,
I think this team makes a top five run. Now, I still don't put them up there with the Heat, the Nets, the Bucks. Like to even the Sixers is kind of close to me with all the talent they have. Why do they fit? What do they need? Because they went and got a superstar in Donovan Mitchell. How does this team get over the hump?
I think obviously it's gonna take some growing, man. I think obviously they're a young team. Uh, my big question now is like I don't think, like you said, I don't think it puts them in that next tier. Like I don't see anybody in the Cavs guarding Giannis. I don't see anybody in the Cavs, guarding KD. Even Jimmy Butler, that's a tough matchup. I still think for the Cavs, like
Yeah,
those are tough. I don't think those matchups are line up well for that team. Especially Donovan Mitchell is a 6'1" shooting guard, which is underrated. Darius Garland's a smaller guard as well. Like I think obviously they make up for the size with the bigs. You got Mobley, Kevin Love, uh, Jared Allen.
yeah.
But I think it's interesting because I think they'll be a different organized team than like most teams will. I don't think they have a true like wing, but I think they'll be a solid squad still.
Yeah, hop in the combo with us because a lot of people thought that Donovan was going to the Knicks, and as did Ray Perez. That's OD, comment Knicks L. But I'm not shocked Cavs or anybody has signed Sexton this whole time. That is a little surprising. But to me, they're going to be loaded like at every position. I've never thought Donovan Mitchell was like the guy that just gets you over the hump. But when you're loaded on this team and you have a lot of other talent, you got a closer in Karis LeVert, you got the size in youth with Evan Mobley. It's like this almost fits what Donovan Mitchell does. He can just go be a free-flowing scorer and kind of let the rest of the team do work.
Yeah, no, I think we're gonna see a different Donovan Mitchell because we haven't necessarily seen him with a superstar. Like I get Rudy Gobert's big defensive guy, but another like offensive like superstar who can go get you 20,
Yeah.
25 a night. We have never seen that. And now we see him with, Darius Garland. We see him with Evan Mobley coming into his second year. I think it'll be a different feel because he's not going to have, five guys just crashing down on him all the time.
Right. And, the Knicks, to the Knicks point, man, it feels like they were supposed to go get him. They were supposed to pay up, and that RJ Barrett contract came up last minute. They signed him. They took themselves off the table. So, shout out to the Knicks, man. Y'all staying losing, bro. Trying to get superstars for the last 3 years have been losing.
Yeah.
Kings fan Sneak brings it up. Tough to give up everything for a player that might not get you there. And I think Mitchell is a star, not anywhere close to a superstar. I think he's a superstar. I think you can't knock the talent. The guy that averages 25 a game. We've seen him in the playoffs put up 50 points. So I wouldn't say superstar is out of the realm of calling him a superstar. Now, is he elite? Is he one of those players you can anchor your team on? I don't think that. I do think that there's a little bit, because he's undersized, he's going to have problems with other two guards in the league. But you got to call him a superstar. He's one of the faces of the league.
Yeah, I think you got to look at the Cavs too. Like, for what they gave up, like they made the play-in last year without Colin Sexton. Ochai Agbaji wasn't on the team last year, and then Lauri Markkanen, who's a solid player, but obviously Donovan Mitchell's a way better player than Lauri Markkanen. So I don't think the Cavs necessarily gave up. Like they kept the farm intact. They kept Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Darius Garland. Like that's your main core pieces. All those players are still young as well. Like those four players heading into the next 10, 12 years. Like that's gonna be a scary team.
Yeah, it is. And when you talk about draft picks, like, there was 5 draft picks on the table for Kevin Durant at one point. There was, I don't know how many went for, I think it was like 3 first-round draft picks went for Rudy Gobert. It feels like the Cavs actually made out with this deal, only giving up 2 first-round picks to go get Mitchell with Markkanen and some other pieces. It didn't seem like they heavily overpaid in this deal.
Yeah, and when you look at like those teams that are trying to make that championship run, like they're not building through the draft. Like they're building through free agency, through trades. Like I don't think the Cavs are banking on their 2025 first round pick to get them to the next level. Like I think they're going to be in that. I think their first round picks will probably be in that 20 to 30 range, and that's late first round guys that will take a couple of years to get going.
Yeah.
So I don't see them like. I don't think they gave up necessarily a lot, in my opinion, because I think
Right.
they'll continue to build through free agency and through trades and through all that. So.
Yeah. How do you think Colin Sexton will do in Utah, being part of that deal and a sign and trade? I feel like it's a good opportunity for him to kind of showcase himself. Obviously, he's the young bull. We've seen him flexing around.
Yeah.
How do you think he'll do in Utah?
Man, I think Utah fans are gonna love him, man. I think Colin Sexton's a great young player. The knee injury last year set him back a little bit, but 2 years ago he was a 20 point per game player in the NBA. Like you don't get that from young guys, especially. I think this his 4th year probably out of college.
Yeah, he's got to be his 4th year.
Yeah. And I wanted to see him stay with Darius Garland, man, because I thought they could have been a nice duo. But I think he'll do well in Utah. Hopefully they'll build around him the right way and make him the vocal point of that team.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and so obviously Utah trading away Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland for Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji, Colin Sexton, and it was 3 unprotected first-round picks, 2 pick swaps. That's a heavy deal, man. And I know we could go on and on and on and on about this deal. What would you rate this deal? Who do you think ended up being the big winner out of this deal? Was it Donovan Mitchell? Was it the Cavs? Was it the Jazz?
I think 100% is the Cavs are the winner, but I don't think the Jazz lost either. I think the Jazz got a solid return and back for Donovan Mitchell. I think Colin Sexton's a solid player. But I think the Cavs, this is their next step that they needed to take. I don't think people are signing to Cleveland like just in free agency. So I think they needed to make a splash trade.
Yeah.
I think that this is a big move for them.
Yeah, I know. Ron was talking about being there, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Now it just set the table for even more. But Kings fan Sneak said, I hope the Cavs do something great. Don't get me wrong. Last year's Mitchell wasn't 2 years ago Mitchell. I'm just concerned about that. He has kind of fallen off since the whole COVID thing. It could have been him and Rudy Gobert's relationship because they seem kind of fractured last year. And so to me, I feel like they'll be better than that. And then Jake comes in and says the backcourt defense might be atrocious for the Cavs, not going to lie. And you mentioned that, man. The size with Garland and Donovan Mitchell could put them at a deficiency, especially when it comes to some of those bigger lineups in the East.
Yeah, but you got to think about, man, like the deficiency will be more on the perimeter. Like if they're getting blown by, like you got Mobley back there, you got Jared Allen back there. Like I'm confident as a team that, you know, if you got those two guys, you know, defending the rim, like it doesn't necessarily matter who you got at the, you know, the 1 and 2 spot. As long as, you know, they can give some type of effort on the defensive end. But, you know, I'll take Mobley and Jared Allen defending the rim all day.
Yeah, Isaac Okoro too. There's a lot of talent.
Yeah,
there's a lot of talent on this team, bro. Like more than if you like, it takes you a minute to even just realize everybody who's on the squad. So
I gotta see who else is on their team, man. Like that's a squad.
I just pulled up the squad, obviously. So you got Jared Allen there, Darius Garland, Karis LeVert. You got the Robin Lopez, Kevin Love, Evan Mobley. Okay. Isaac Okoro, Jetty Osman, Rondo, Rubio's coming back now. Colin Sexton's gone, obviously. Lamar Stevens.
Yeah. They got Rondo.
I don't know if Rondo's still there. He's probably a free agent knowing Rondo. Yeah. On a 1-year deal there. But that's a crazy lineup.
That's a good squad, man. I think Rondo would actually be a good, you know, pickup to bring him back. Just a, you know, veteran presence. You know, he can run that second team, that second unit, and like we saw him in Los Angeles. Just be a solid player, man, a solid leader. And I think him and Darius Garland got a good relationship. We heard about that last year, so I hope they bring him back for sure. Yeah,
I think obviously Rubio's. I think he still had a few years left on his deal when they traded for him. So they got the vets, they got the talent. Y'all let us know what you guys think, man. This is in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, Donovan Mitchell, it's a blockbuster deal. And then I go, I'm like, it's to the Cavs. They need a little bit more. And the more I start to look at the way this roster is constructed and the fit, I do have some concerns. Like, I don't know if this is a championship team, but this team's gonna make some noise in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, I think they need probably like one or two more pieces for sure. I think they need definitely a wing, kind of like a wing defender, like a long wing.
But what if Okoro develops? Because he was coming on until he got hurt last year.
But he's a smaller, you know, wing as well. He's probably like 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
And not that obviously he's a great defender, but Kevin Durant is looking right over him. You know, like you gotta take that into account. Like if I'm the Cavs now, my mindset is I'm in championship mode. Like I gotta look at, you know, the Bucks. I gotta look at the Nets and how we can match up with these teams, because you're not just fighting to make the playoffs. Like this is a playoff team for sure.
It's crazy. Like Jake is mentioning, this is a really good point. The Eastern Conference might be better than the West, and the West is deep.
Yeah.
Like the West is deep, but when I go over these teams in the East, I don't see a lot of slouches. Miami, Boston, Milwaukee, the Sixers, the Raptors. I'm not all in on the Raptors.
The Raptors
I know they did well.
Straight.
You think so?
I think the Raptors will be good, man.
The Raptors,
they're a solid team.
The Bulls, the Nets, the Hawks, the Cavs, the Hornets.
Yeah.
Like that's solid, bro. Like I would say that's real solid, man.
Yeah, that's a good deep conference, and they're all young too, which is crazy. Like they're only going to get better. You don't necessarily have old teams in the East. I mean, Nets are a little bit of an older team, but other than that, like all those teams are young and upcoming.
Yeah, all those teams made the playoffs last year too, so it's running back. It's running back season for all of them. They might switch, you know, how they are, but man. So breaking news: Donovan Mitchell trade to the Cavs. If you guys have any other thoughts on that, let us know. We're gonna continue to talk about that throughout the broadcast. But we also we talk football on this show too. So you want to move on to football, or is there anything else you want to cover on that?
Oh man, I just say last thing is, if you're the Jazz, like what's next? Like what's next? If I'm Utah and I'm looking at my team and like just around the league, like nobody's signing in Utah for sure. Like in free agency, 100%.
It might be one of
And
those Sacramento situations though where they go for the bag, right?
yeah, but it's like at that point, like is that I think guys are moving away from the money. I think the money's always going to be there. Like these new TV deals and stuff, like there's money everywhere. You don't really see guys signing like in random places anymore. Um, and I think they just like the way that they're rebuilding. Like I guess you get Colin Sexton, that's cool, but like there's not like a one player that you're like, oh man, he's the future for sure. You know what I mean?
And I kind of feel like Utah has a really bad stigma about him right now. Like to me, it just
Yeah,
seems with the players going in there, like especially with the way that Pat Bev got traded there and was like, "Hey, if y'all ain't winning, I'm out." And then they immediately dealt him, so you know they're not interested in winning. Obviously,
yeah.
I mean having Colin Sexton there is going to help, but that's not really attracting any new faces, like you mentioned.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. It'll be interesting. I know they got a lot of picks, so maybe they'll be in an OKC situation where they try and just build up a bunch of picks and make a big deal at some point. But
Yeah.
it's looking ugly in Utah for the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, you had a stint out there for a little bit. Is there anybody young guys that Jazz fans can get excited about? Like, okay, this guy might be on the roster. He was down in the G for a little bit, came up, or he was a
Yeah,
younger guy. Is there anybody that Jazz fans should be excited about on that roster?
all the guys I play with, man, are gone now. They're on other teams. So like, I think they're like when I was there, they were still in that like they thought they could win the championship. They're the one seed that year in the playoffs. Like. So I think the next year they kind of made some moves to, try and build up again and try and make another run at it, and kind of didn't work out for them. So now they're in rebuild mode. So we'll see what happens.
Rebuild mode, man. He said, great for fantasy, though. There's a lot of fantasy options when you talk about fantasy basketball. There's a lot of talent in the league, and there's going to be a lot of high scoring matchups. The East and the West are very top heavy. You know who the best teams are there now, and this season's gonna be kind of crazy because I feel like
Crazy, man.
there's gonna be a lot of parity this year because any one of those like hardcore top 10 teams could end up winning it, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And the East is crazy. You never know what you can get out of some of the teams in the East.
Hell no. Well, if you guys got any more thoughts on the Donovan Mitchell trade, let us know. We're gonna move on to some NFL football. I know it says Donovan Mitchell trade on the cast, so we'll be talking about that throughout the broadcast. But we're gonna go through the AFC West as well. Let's start with the Raiders in their schedule. This is a tough ass division, and so a lot of people are have this division being one of the toughest in the league. And there was some new additions there. Obviously, Devontae Adams is now on the Raiders. Tyreek Hill left. We saw Khalil Mack join the AFC West with the Chargers. And the Broncos got Russ, who just got paid. Russ got paid today,
Yeah.
$245 million over 5 years. He'll be staying in Denver for the next 7 years total.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about the Raiders right now?
I think. I mean, obviously, I'm a Charger guy, but I think that they got a solid team, man. I think, in my opinion, I think they're the weakest in the division. Obviously, that's not even a knock though, because it's a crazy division. Like, I think honestly, if you're just going by records in the AFC, like no divisions or anything, the Raiders are going to have probably a top 8, record in that division, but it just might not work out due to the playoffs and all that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a tough schedule for all 4 teams, looking out this season.
Facts. Well, you see the comments coming in about LeBron. LeBron gonna opt out after this season, man. He decided 2-year extension, so he's gonna be in LA for a minute. But that Cavs team, he might be looking at that team 2 years down the line, thinking I should have joined them. Colin Sexton will be a steal in points leagues. Yeah, man, he's gonna have every opportunity. Might have some Russell Westbrook type numbers there in Utah. He's gonna go crazy for sure.
Yeah.
Bruce is on. What's up, Bruce? Shout out to the homie Bruce. He said, I know that the Sacramento Kings are not winning the championship. You think the Kings? What are the Kings doing right now?
Man, the Kings should have went after Donovan Mitchell. That would have been.
I don't know why they didn't.
That would have been something, man, for real. That would have put them in the playoff for sure.
I'd have gave up Keegan. I'd have gave up Davion. I'd have gave up Harrison. All of those guys plus 3 firsts. Like, just make the deal happen, bro.
Yeah.
So, and then last one, I know the Chargers not going to win that division, especially with that QB. He's talking to you, Marcus. Said that they're not going to win. So let's see the schedule. Let's see the schedule real quick. Let's go over the Raiders schedule. Do I have this pulled up right? I do. Yeah. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger, bro, because I feel like we need to make this schedule so we can see it, because otherwise it's a little low. So obviously with the Raiders, open image in new tab. That's what I need to do. So obviously, with the Raiders, Marcus, this is a team that is going to have very high expectations for themselves. They won some games last year, but didn't. Obviously, they were a couple pieces away from making real noise. So they went out and got Devontae Adams. How do you feel about the Raiders this year?
Man, I like the Raiders. Like I said, I think they're one of the. I think they're the weakest in the division, which is not a knock at all. But just the division is, a highly touted division. I'm still concerned about the defense, though. I know they added Chandler Jones, but secondary is it's looking a little We got guys like Keenan Allen and Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Williams. You got Travis Kelce.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to play some defense, but it's gonna be a pass-happy division. And I think the secondary might hurt them.
Facts. Well, let's get into this schedule, man. Obviously, they open up the season at the Chargers. They play the Cardinals, and then they go at Tennessee. How do you feel like the Raiders start off this season, man?
Man, I see them going. Let's see. I think the opening weekend, Chargers made a lot of additions. I like the Chargers in LA week 1. So I got them at 0-1 there. Arizona back at the crib in Vegas. I think that would be a highly anticipated matchup. I think DeAndre Hopkins not being there probably hurts the Cardinals. I see the Raiders getting a win there, and then I see them going to Tennessee and getting a win as well. I'm down on Tennessee this year. I've talked about it, in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So I see, the first 3 weeks, I see them starting 2-1.
2-1. I can see that. I can see 2-1 because I think that they'll definitely lose to the Chargers at home. I think they could beat Tennessee, and I think they could beat the Cardinals as well. So 2-1 for me as well. When I move on, I got the Broncos and Chiefs, 2 division games ahead of the bye. What's your thoughts there?
I like them beating the Broncos. I'm concerned at home. I should say I like them beating the Broncos at home, not just because they can just beat the Broncos, but I like them beating them at home. I think it's still early. The Broncos might have some kinks, trying to work things out, trying to get some chemistry. And then Sunday night football at Kansas City, tough place to play, man, especially the night games. So I see a loss there. 3-2 heading into the bye. That's an early bye. Dang.
That is an early bye for the Raiders. Yeah, that's tough going to Arrowhead to get a win. And that Broncos team is going to be really tough this year, too. So I got them splitting right there, 1-1. Both of you and I agree on that. So 3-2 right now. And we got Bruce coming in saying, hit the like button. This channel is underrated. If you're not subscribed to this channel, baby, what are you doing with your life? We got shows every single day talking NFL, NBA. You'll see my face on it. You'll see Marcus's face on it. Talking hoop, football. We've already covered the Donovan Mitchell trade, and if you just came in and you're just now watching, make sure you drop your comments on it. We've covered it. It was an amazing deal, but we're gonna get into this AFC West and break it down. So make sure y'all smash the subscribe button if you aren't already.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So after the bye, we both got them 3-2 heading into the bye. They played the Texans, the Saints, and the Jags. How are we feeling about that 3-game stretch?
Oh man, I think they'll beat the Texans for sure. Texans is looking a little ugly for me. I got them losing their next 3 though. Their next 4. I got them going on a 4-game losing streak at New Orleans, at Jacksonville, come home against Indy, and then back out to Denver. I got them losing the next 4.
That's a tough stretch.
That's a tough stretch right there, yeah.
It's tougher than it looks, especially that Jags game. It looks like that's on paper, the Jags always look like a win. But, yeah, I got them beating Texans, losing in New Orleans. I think they'll come back and beat the Jags, though. Even though we think the Jags are a walkover, they're not. I think they beat the Jags, are better than them. And then also I think they lose to the Colts, lose in Denver. And that Seattle game is going to be tougher than it looks.
Yeah.
So I got them 2-3 in that stretch. You said you had them 3-2 in that stretch?
I had them 1-4 in that stretch.
1-4 in that stretch. All right.
Yeah, so I got them. What is that? 4-6 overall now.
You got them 4-6 right now, and I got them 5-5. So before we get to the second half of the schedule, 10 in Spider. Darius Garland tweeting 10 in Spider, the new combo. Yeah. And we also found out Colin Sexton did he's not going anywhere. His contract is 4 years, $72 million as part of the deal. He's a sign and trade. Colin Sexton got a 4-year deal, so he'll be staying in Utah for a while.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But no, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, it's gonna be a scary combo.
It is. He's excited, man. 10 in Spider. You can't be mad at that. Let's finish the back half of the schedule. Seahawks, Chargers. I know you got to give them one win against the Chargers, right?
Oh yeah, I'll give him one, man. I'll give him one. I got him beating the Seahawks. I got him beating the Chargers. Now I got them losing to the Rams in LA. So
Yeah.
that leaves me at 6-7. 6-7. I got him at right now.
I'm actually going to give them an L against the Seahawks because I think Seattle's a tougher place to play, and we've seen the Raiders
Oof.
struggle sometimes when they go there.
Yeah.
And so we sometimes it feels like the Raiders lose games that they should win. That feels like a winnable game that they'll lose. I think they'll beat the Chargers there at home. That feels like a bounce back type win, and then lose Thursday night short week to the Rams. I see that could potentially be a blow up. And over the last 4 games, Marcus, they got they have a road game and then a couple home games against some strong teams. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, just going back to the Rams and Chargers. That's actually looking at that. That's not bad. You got the Chargers, and you travel an hour, 30 minutes to LA on Thursday.
Yeah.
That's not a bad Thursday night game to have. Looking at that schedule,
but it's still a short
it's
week,
still the
and
Rams.
you're not sleeping in your bed at home. You're still on the road, like
yeah. But no, heading into the last 4, I got them beating the Patriots. I got them going to Pittsburgh. I got them taking an L at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a tough place to play. I think Kenny Pickett's going to come on late in the season.
You think so?
I think so, man. I think he'll come on late in the season. Najee Harris going to have a big year, in my opinion. And then the last 2, I got them winning their last 2 versus San Francisco versus Kansas City.
You got the Raiders beating KC and the Niners?
I do.
The Battle of the Bay?
I do. Both at home. Vegas. Just watching that Chargers game last year, the last game of the season, man, Vegas is turned up for the Raiders. They are turned up for the Raiders, and that's right around playoff time. I can see those being, big home field advantages for both those games.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because those Oakland games used to be crazy. I used to being out here in Sacramento, used to go to those all the time. The back end of that schedule, though, I feel like they're at home. They're going to beat the Pats there. They go on the road to Pittsburgh. I can see that being a win as well. And then I think they lose the next 2. So I got to go on 2-2 during that stretch. Even though those are both home games, I feel like those are both better teams. So
yeah,
you had them winning 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got 8 wins for you, 8 and 9.
8 and 9 is what I got them at.
Yep, and I got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got them at 9 and 8. Now, Vegas, right about the same. Vegas has them at 8.5 wins. So we're obviously that's a tight line. Staying away from that one. But do you think the Raiders? You think the Raiders are playoff bound, or you think they're just gonna miss?
I think they're just gonna miss. I think they'll just miss, and I think it'll just be it will be a tough division. And then we got the AFC West has tough, out of division games as well.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see the Raiders' schedule. But yeah, I think New Orleans is gonna be tough. Arizona is gonna be tough. Like those out of conference games, those are tough out of conference games from that.
About 8 or 9 wins then for the Raiders. We got a few news things coming in. I'm just gonna keep dropping news bombs while we live, baby.
Man.
Yeah, so O.J. Howard was released by the Bills and thought he had signed by the Bengals. Turns out that's not the case. He's actually visiting the Texans today. So the Texans have gone through the Texans are trying to make some moves right now. And then we saw Trey Sermon get cut yesterday by the Niners. He has now been claimed by the Philadelphia Eagles, which could be a nice fit there in that offense, man.
Yeah, the Trey Sermon thing is crazy to me. Like, we got to talk about Kyle Shanahan, man. Like, let's talk about it right now. Let's talk about the Niners right now. There's a bunch of stuff going on with the Niners. We'll start with Trey Sermon. They traded up in the 3rd round last year to get him. People said, why take Najee in the 1st when you can just get Trey Sermon in the 3rd? And now look at him off the team. And I think it just goes back to what we talked about. Like, you can never trust Kyle Shanahan with a running back. You don't know what he's gonna do. Yeah. And I think it's crazy, man. After 1 year, he's gone.
They said, how many running backs do you need? And that's for both teams, for Philly and for the Niners. I feel like the Niners had so many backs, but you can't gas up your guys like that and be like, oh, Trey Sermon's going to be the number 2. He's looked amazing in camp, and then just cut him. To me, all the shenanigans are coming into place, man.
Yeah, and then, continuing on the Niners train, interesting, they brought back Jimmy Garoppolo officially, restructured his contract, 6.5, I think, guaranteed with some incentives if he gets some playing time or whatever. That's looking like trouble to me in San Francisco, man.
You think so?
You got a guy who's brought your team to the NFC Championship 2 out of the last 3 years. If Trey Lance starts the season like 2-5, 2-6, you don't think those vets are calling for Jimmy?
Hell nah.
You don't think
Nah,
so?
bruh. I don't think so. I think it's a team. I think they know what they got with Trey Lance. They got a guy who's going to be a quote unquote project. Things can go really smooth and the team can be awesome and they win 8 games to start the season. Cool, like 8-1, or they could go 1-8. And I don't think there's panic. I think you know that Trey is the guy that you've invested in. You put all this draft capital into. You traded up to get. You can't go back to Jimmy. Even if the Niners are 1-5, at that point you got to just let him develop. You can't go back to. I think Jimmy knows he's in a backup situation, potentially waiting for somebody to get. If there's an injury or something that happens with another team that had playoff hopes, I think he's going to get traded at some point in the season. In my
I
opinion,
don't know, man. You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful with that. Like I think if you're looking at those vets, Trent Williams is heading into the end of his career. You got Eric Armstead, Fred Warner. Those guys want to win now. Those guys got the taste of the Super Bowl run. They got a taste of the NFC Championship run. They're not looking. They're not looking to wait for a young guy to. They have championship aspirations still. I
facts.
think I'm not gonna say it'll get to the situation, but I think you're looking at another Tua situation if it starts ugly for Trey Lance.
I think you're looking more like Pat Mahomes and Alex Smith type thing, where you're like, you know
Hey,
what? There's a reason why we made this guy the starter.
and I'm not saying that won't happen. I hope Trey Lance does well, but I think it's you didn't re-sign Alex Smith. You let go of Alex Smith once you knew Pat Mahomes was a starter. Like Alex Smith wasn't there once Pat Mahomes was starting.
So let
You
me
know.
ask you this: if you had to put a
Mhm.
percentage on it, because obviously it's in the back of your mind, you're like, you know what? I think it happens. The Niners start the season 2-5, let's say. What's the percentage you would put on it that Jimmy G is going to be the starter come week 6 or week 7, whatever week it is for him?
2-5. I think I'm gonna say this. 2-5. I think he gets one more week. 2-6. 100% Jimmy Garoppolo is the starter. 100%.
All right. I think
Yeah.
100% Trey Lance is a starter no matter what.
So you're saying that if the Niners are 3 and they start the season, let's say they start 2-6, 2-7.
Yeah.
You're just letting them. You're just chalking the season up. It's over.
Unless it's just Trey Lance throwing 5 picks a game, which
Uh-huh.
I don't think Shanahan's going to put him in that kind of position anyway. It would
Yeah.
have to be a major, like Trey Lance is not NFL ready for them to pull the plug.
Okay.
If he's
And
struggling,
then,
if they're winning games, I don't see it happening at all.
so then my next question is, if you pull the plug, are you looking elsewhere, or are you just saying, oh, we'll get him ready for next year? Because then, like, once
You
you pull
can't.
the plug,
It's a wrap.
it's chaos. It's chaos, man. I think it's
That's
a
why I
wrap.
feel like they got to stick with it, man. They got to
Yeah.
stick with him. Trey will be there. This is a good question coming in from He Hoops Express and Marcus. I'm gonna defer to you on this one because you're the X's. You got way more hoop knowledge than probably anybody in this that's watching right now. Will
Mhm.
Donovan Mitchell be a good fit with Evan Mobley? Now, obviously, they got 2 superstars there. They have another capable guard in Darius Garland. How do you feel about the fit within this offense?
I think it's a great fit. I think it's a great fit because I think Evan Mobley's a very versatile big. Not that we haven't seen that in Donovan Mitchell's career. Rudy Gobert is more defensive minded. But I can see a Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, pick and pop situation, pick and pop offense. Also rolling, but Evan Mobley's just more versatile. You can get the ball to him in different spots. And then Jared Allen as well is a great pick and roll, pick and roll lob threat.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a great fit for the Cavs. And then people sleeping, man. Kevin Love still got game. We saw it last year. Not that he was the Kevin Love of old, but in his 15, 20 minutes, man, he's a great veteran big coming off the bench.
Yeah, when he can play, Kevin Love, he's got to stay healthy, though, because we saw him go
Yeah,
through stretches where he was hurting on the IR and shit. So, all
yeah.
right, here we go. Quick one for me. I'll take this one. Who should I start, Zeke or Tony Pollard? You're going to start Zeke. Zeke is your guy you want to have on your roster, but Tony Pollard in PPR leagues is probably going to have some standalone value. I can see 3 to 5 catches a game from Tony Pollard, and then who knows with that because the dude's electric. So, and he's probably going to get somewhere in the 5 to 10 carry range. I can see Tony Pollard being, useful for your team. But Zeke's still the guy. Don't get it twisted. Don't get cute, man. Zeke is still the
Yeah.
guy there in Dallas.
Hey, so do you think if Zeke has another average year type thing,
Yeah.
you think they stick with him next year? Or you think they
They're
move
tied to
on?
him. The money. they are tied to him. They got to,
Yeah,
bro. Like Tony Pollard's nice, but like Zeke has been proven, and I think people forget Zeke has been effective. We're just used to seeing him be like a top 5 back, and the line isn't the same as it used to be. Like that offensive line has gone down significantly, and he was dealing with the injury last year. So I know what it looks like. Pollard looks better. Like just when you watch, he just looks a little bit more explosive. But they need a between the tackles guy, somebody that's consistent, and that's Zeke.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, where are you at with the fit with Garland and Mitchell? Like, obviously, we talked about the backcourt being a little shorter. Where are you at with Garland and Mitchell?
Yeah, I think they'll have some challenges, with height and everything. But I like the fit offensively. I think we saw Garland and Karis LeVert kind of thrive a little bit last year, and I think Donovan Mitchell's a better scorer than Karis LeVert, better offensive player. Not that Karis LeVert's bad, but I just think that
Right.
Donovan Mitchell's just a better offensive, rounded player. And so I think it'll be a good fit offensively. And then we'll just see. We'll see how they do defensively. I think, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, the two bigs, Mobley and Jared Allen, will clean up a lot. But we saw it. We saw it in Utah. Like people forget that Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell played together. Mike Conley's a shorter guard as well, and they had Rudy Gobert, protecting the rim. So it's kind of a similar situation that we saw in Utah.
Yeah, I can see them running into a lot of the same problems that they had in the playoffs when it
Yeah.
comes to that they had in Utah too. So it's interesting that the Cavs made this move. They must be relying on those other pieces really stepping up and have the ability to kind of carry the defensive load there because
Yeah.
it will be a little bit of a struggle
Well, I'll
with the
say
smaller
this though.
backcourt.
I'll say this though. Mobley can switch 1 through 5. So when you get into the playoffs, like you can play small ball and switch and all that. But I do still think they need one more long wing defender that can help with those other wings in the East.
Yeah, and when you talk about the Cavs, they are definitely now a contender with Mitchell. They were a contender last year without Donovan Mitchell. They had a lot of teams on edge, and they're a very competitive team. So when I look at the Cavs right now, it's just the East is stacked. We talked about this earlier in the show. There's the top 10 teams in the East all have the ability to come out the East, and they're very competitive. So, Marcus, you think that they're actually contenders for a title now that they have Donovan?
I don't think they're contenders. No, I don't think they're title contenders. I think they'll be a solid Eastern Conference team, similar to what we've seen from the Hawks in the past couple of years. A team like that. I don't see them overtaking the Bucks. I don't see them overtaking the Sixers. I just think the offensive or the superstar power is just too much from those other teams.
Yeah, and you talk. I mean, even like the Sixers, the Nets, the Bucks. Like, there's the Celtics retooled and got Derek White. Like,
yeah.
there's too many teams in the East right now where I think they might upset one of those teams. Like, I could see the Cavs going and like upsetting one of those teams. But when I look at like what Donovan was doing in Utah, it reminds me eerily of the same thing. Like, even if they had a great record, they still got to go up against that superstar talent in the playoffs. And it's different. Superstar talent in the playoffs is mad different.
Yeah.
So I can see them. Maybe they're going to upset one, but I think they might be like the higher seed that actually gets rolled over.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see. So you're saying they can have like a good regular season and then get into the playoffs, and it's kind of like what we've seen from Utah.
I think for sure this team has a good regular season record because they're young and they're not going to
Yeah.
have a whole lot of off nights. They're deep. And so I think this team is going to play, when you're one of the younger teams sometimes and you're talented, you go balls to the wall in the regular season trying to prove a point. You want to win more games. The record is important to you. You want to dog some of those lesser caliber teams. And I think some of those veteran teams tend to peel off at the right time where they rest up. And I can see this team having a very good regular season record, even beating out maybe like the Sixers or the Nets regular season wise, and then having a top 4 or 5 seed and potentially losing there. So one of the comments came in, people forget how good Colin Sexton was because he was hurt. That's true, man. Utah got themselves a steal. I like him.
Yeah, and Colin Sexton, man, 20 points a game, and it was only his second year in the league. Like, it's up and up from here. Hopefully he's healthy enough.
Facts. I love Mobley, but saying he can switch 1 through 5 is pushing it, Marcus. He's calling you out. He's saying it's pushing it that he can guard 1 through 5 on an idea that he can guard elite guards.
I'm not saying like he's gonna. I'm saying he can switch. Like Rudy Gobert cannot switch. Like Joel Embiid, I don't think he's like a Nikola Jokic. Those guys can't switch. Like I think Mobley can switch and somewhat stay in front of guards. I'm not gonna say he's like gonna lock up
Right.
I'm not saying he's locking up guys like James Harden and those guys. Like,
Yeah, but it's
but
like
I
Ben
think he can switch
Simmons.
though. Yeah,
It's like Ben
yeah,
Simmons. Ben can guard 1 through 5, but
yeah,
it's not. He's best guarding people that are at his position. It's not like he's gonna
yeah,
go. He can have the ability to switch. I get what you're
yeah.
saying there. Mitchell's defense is atrocious and so many questionable shots. He will have to improve that now. If the Cavs are to take the next steps, I do agree. He's going to have to continue to get better with his decision making and then also his defensive effort, which is it might just be trouble for him because of his size.
I think when you look at his shots, like look at Utah's team. Like who else do you want shooting? Like all their team was Royce O'Neal catch and shoot, Joe
Yeah,
Ingles catch and
it
shoot.
literally was all him.
Mike Conley's back end of his career more of a catch and shoot guy. Like he was really the only like creator on that team. So I think having Darius Garland there, Karis LeVert as well. Probably he'll come off the bench.
Yeah.
He'll have less of a load on his shoulders.
Well, keep the questions rolling in. We got a few more. We're continuing to go over this AFC West. We got a little sidetracked there, but continue to talk. Donovan Mitchell to the Cavs, Colin Sexton to Utah. We will go over those in full detail as well. But let's check out some more of these schedules. I got the Chargers schedule just to make sure we get this one in case we get sidetracked again.
Yeah.
Let's get this Chargers schedule in. And yes, it's a little small. Let me pull this thing up a little bit better, man, so we can get
Some unis,
nice
man.
and dialed
Best
in.
unis in the league.
The powder blues, I love it. Hey,
Powder
and I actually
blues,
saw
man.
I saw authentic one in the back. I think it says "bolt up" on the
Yeah,
back of the
yeah.
jersey. It's clean, bro.
Yeah.
So I like it. Let me give you one more question while I'm making this thing a little bit better. How do you feel about Trent Williams in the top 20 in the league, man? Obviously, the top 20 list for the NFL came out, and Trent Williams is in there. How'd you feel about that?
I mean, I like it. Trent Williams is the best left tackle in the league, in my opinion. His longevity has put him in that that category as well. I know he's on the back end of his career, but I in my opinion, he's still the best left tackle in the league. So I think he's got to be in the top 20 and 25.
Yes, sir. Good point, Marcus. He was talking about the 1 through 5 thing. I think you were right about that as well. Colin Sexton is a dog. Yes, he is. He's flat. Shot is flat. He is not that good. I think Colin Sexton's a good player, man. And not everybody's shot has a lot of arc on it. We've seen a lot of players have success without a lot of arc on their shot. So
Yeah.
I don't think that determines whether or not you're a good shooter personally.
If you average 20 in the league, you're a good player, man. You don't accidentally average 20 in the NBA.
I know I didn't average 20 in rec leagues.
Man. Yeah, that doesn't happen, man. So.
As you come in, please like and share. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, everything Bruce is mentioning, man. Shout out to you guys for supporting us. And let's talk Eckler, man. Eckler will have a good season. All my teams start with him in fantasy. He's going to be good. I think he might be dialed back a little bit. They brought in Sony Michel throughout the week. And then obviously they drafted Isaiah Spiller, who's going to be a part of this thing at some point. When you look at the schedule to open up, as it's very small, Marcus, we got the Raiders, the Chiefs, and the Jags to open up the season. How are you feeling about that, man? They're the home against the Raiders and home against the Jags on the road against KC week 2.
Man, I like 3-0 to start the season. No
Oh
bias.
my God! Of course you do.
No bias. We already in the last, the Raiders, we said that they're going to get the week 1. The Chargers have won sneakily. No, it's underrated. The Chargers have won, I think, 3, maybe 4 straight at Arrowhead. So,
wow.
Yeah, they're comfortable in Arrowhead. And I think they come back. Jacksonville, I think I don't think they'll be bad, but I think they'll still be working through some things early in the season. And I see them starting 3-0, heading into Houston.
I'll give them 2-1. I'll give them 2-1. I'm not giving them 3-0. I think they lose that game, Arrowhead. But it's not a bad start either way.
The Chargers have won 4 straight at Arrowhead, and they've lost 4 straight in LA. It's weird, bro.
That's wild.
It's weird how it happens. Yeah.
In the next 4-game streak, we see the Texans, the Browns, the Broncos, and the Seahawks. The Broncos and Seahawks, both games at home. So they head on the road early on to the Texans and Browns. Do you see them losing either of those games?
I don't see them losing any of those games. I think the Chargers got bad taste in their mouth from last year. It was week 16 they lost at Houston. It's a horrible loss. So I think they'll be reminded of that for sure. And
I agree
Cleveland,
with you there.
I think Jacoby Brissett, I don't think that he's necessarily bad, but I think the offensive power of the Chargers will just overtake the Browns.
Yeah, that ain't nothing special there. And then we
Yeah.
see the Broncos and Seahawks, both of those home games, and we see the question come in: how do you feel about Russell Wilson getting 5 years, 245 million with 165 of it guaranteed? I love the contract for the Broncos and Russ.
Dude, I'm not a fan, man. I'm not a fan, and I'll tell you why. Because you're tied. You're tied to Russ till he's 42, I think it was,
Yeah, he's
and
33 right now, so he's 7 years out. I
he's
think he's 40.
41. Okay, so yeah. So I think I saw that he'll be 41 when his contract's over.
That's wild.
And we don't see guys like Tom Brady's an outlier. People think that they can just play till 45 now. Like that's an outlier. Um, I don't see I see a decrease in production heading into the end of his career. I don't not that he'll be like bad, but I don't think he'll be Russ cooking at
Yeah.
37, 38.
I like this move for him. I think that he'll be very productive, especially in the next 4 or 5 years. And if he wins the Super Bowl, the contract's worth it. So at the end of the day, I
Yeah,
think that's what they're going to be pushing for there in
yeah,
Denver. They're going to build around him now. So I think he's still going to have another 4 elite seasons left. I think it's worth the money, man. Russ has proven himself well. He's proven himself a winner, so I ain't too mad at it at all. And I
yeah,
do see him. I see them losing this game. I see the Broncos losing. I think that the Chargers win both of these games, so I'll give them 4-0 on this little streak. You think they lose either of those games, the Broncos or the Seahawks?
I don't. So what does that put us at? 7-1, 6-1.
You got 6-1. You got 7-0. I got 6-1.
I do have 7-0, and yeah, I gotta stick with it. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm not even trying to
Yeah.
go 16-0, but I'm sticking with the 7-0 right now.
We saw Trey Sermon head to Philly. It's a good spot for him there. We talked about it with the run game there in Philly. They're going to need him, and young back that they can have behind Miles Sanders and behind Bart Scott looks good there. And then Patriots or Miami. I'm going to go Miami on that one. Not saying the Pats. Pats are a team I'm fading this year.
Yeah, I like Miami. I think obviously the biggest question is Tua, but
Yeah,
I like Miami.
yeah. Let's go Miami over Pats, man. They got
Yeah,
the wrong guys, man, in that offense. And then they have the bye week, and then they come out of the bye week playing the Falcons and the Niners. You think either of those is a win or a loss? Or what are we looking at, Marcus? I had to stop on the Niners real quick.
yeah. I'm gonna take the win in Atlanta, and I'm gonna
Yep.
come back and I'm gonna say that they'll lose in San Francisco due to the fact that I'm still concerned about the run defense, and I know Kyle Shanahan's gonna look at that and say we're gonna run all day on the Chargers. And
Yeah.
that was the biggest Achilles heel last year. So until I'm proven otherwise, I'm gonna have to take an L on that one.
All right, give them an L. Yeah, I think the Niners is an L. It's on Sunday Night Football on the road. Like, I feel like that's for sure an L there. And then
Yeah,
the Falcons game coming off the bye, I feel like they go out and probably destroy the Falcons, even though it's on the road. And then the next 3 games are against the Chiefs at home. They play the Cardinals on the road and the Raiders on the road. What's your record for them there?
I see them going 1-2 there. I see
One
them
and two,
losing to the
yeah.
Chiefs. I see them beating Arizona. I like them beating Arizona. I think Arizona's defense is still in question. I think losing Chandler Jones is a big loss for that team. And then I see them losing to the Raiders as well. I think they'll split the Raiders and the Chiefs this year.
Yeah, I think they'll split the Raiders and the Chiefs too. That's why I got them. I got them going 2-1 during this time. I feel like they'll definitely. I think they'll beat the Chiefs at home, get a little bit of payback at home, and then especially coming off a loss against the Niners, and then I think they'll lose. They'll beat the Cardinals, and lose to the Cardinals and then beat the Raiders. That's kind
Okay.
of how I have them going right there. And in the last 5 games, we see the Dolphins, Titans, Colts, Chargers, and Broncos. Let's hear it. Let's hear how the season finishes off.
Yeah, man. I like the win. I like the win against the Dolphins and the Titans. I'm not sold on either of those teams yet. I know they made a lot of additions, but not sold on Tua. And then you know how I feel about Tannehill.
Yeah.
And then I got them losing to the Colts. The same reasons. I'm still concerned about the run defense. Jonathan Taylor, I think it gets ugly sometimes, man. Teams
Yeah.
go for records against the Chargers at times. I got them losing to the Rams as well. First battle of LA in SoFi Stadium. That's happened. I think that'll be it's a home game for the Chargers, but it'll be more like a road game probably.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I got them winning against the Broncos. I think they go 2-0 against the Broncos this year. So yeah,
So we have 2-3, 3-2 in that stretch.
I got them 3-2 in that stretch. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see him winning both of those games against the Dolphins and Titans, and then losing those two, the Colts and the Rams, and then that last game would probably might even be for a playoff spot. I could see that being for a
Yeah.
playoff spot. Well, just dependent. Their record is actually a lot better than I thought. I'm gonna give them the win there, 3-2 to finish off the season. So you got them 3-6-10. You got them 12-5. I got them
Yes, sir.
2-6-8. I got them 11 and no, I got them 12-5 too.
Yeah.
We both got them 12-5 right now. So
12-5.
that's a damn good record. And right now, the over under for them is 10.5 wins. That's looking like you got to take it for the Chargers.
I agree, man. I agree, and
Of course, you agree, man. Of
yeah,
course, you agree.
I agree.
Oh,
Man,
man.
looking at the Raiders schedule and the Chargers schedule, man, the Raiders got a tough schedule. I didn't
They
realize
do.
that.
It seems like it's way
Yeah.
too tough for them. Answering a couple questions here. We are also talking Donovan Mitchell. So if you got any questions on Donovan Mitchell, Cavs talk, he's been traded. We can answer any of those questions. Another 10 minutes we got here on the show for you guys. Does Jalen Waddle have a better fantasy year not being in double coverage? I think he has an effective fantasy year. I don't think that he's going to be what he was last year, but I can see him having a role. This offense will be able to produce two wide receivers, and I think Tyreek Hill is going to be a little bit more involved in the run game, kind of like Debo was for the Niners.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I see Jalen Waddle having a big year. Obviously, they got the chemistry, him and Tua already. So I think with Tyreek Hill getting a lot of attention, I think Jalen Waddle can pick up the slack a little bit for the Miami offense.
Facts. Well, let's get into the Chiefs schedule.
Yeah.
We'll say the Broncos in case we don't have time for the Broncos. I think we
Yeah.
realize the Broncos are going to be. Let's go with the Chiefs because it's pretty much going to be between Chiefs and the Chargers. If we're looking at 12-5 for the Chargers, let's see what we got these Chiefs at. I'm trying
Yeah.
to zoom in just a little bit there. All right. So we open up at Cardinals. Got the Chargers at home, and then you got
Yeah.
at Colts, at Bucks. How you feeling
Damn.
about that, Marcus?
Oh man, that's a tough schedule to open up. Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
they got a tough schedule. It's tough. Arizona's a tough place to play.
Especially to open the season.
Yeah, to open the season, man. I got a loss there, and I already said they got a loss week 2. So I'm gonna give them 0-2 to start. I got them beating the Colts, and then I got them losing to the Bucks. I got them at 1-3 to start the season.
Yikes! And it's tough because I can't
Yeah.
really maybe 2-2 because that's tough going 3 road games against 3 potential playoff teams. I'm gonna give them the win against the Cardinals, even though it's a tough open. I'm gonna give them the win. I think they're better than the Cardinals, especially without D-Hop.
Yeah.
And then I'll give them the win against the Chargers. I think they lose both the games to the Colts and the Bucks. So I'm gonna give them. I got them going 2-2 to start. You said 3-1 for you, or 1-3?
I said 1-3. Yeah.
1-3. I got 2-2.
1-3.
All right,
then,
next 3 games. Yeah, next 3
yeah.
games: Raiders, Bills, and then Niners on the road.
Yeah, I got them winning all 3 here. I think we've seen, last year, I think the Chiefs kind of struggled a little bit early in the season. We saw Patrick Mahomes' magic, man. I think they won like 10 straight or something like that. I see them beating the Raiders. I see them, Bills will be a big game. I see them beating the Bills, both of those at home. And I see them going to San Francisco. I know it'll be a tough game, but
Yeah.
I think the offensive firepower of Patrick Mahomes is too much for Trey Lance this early in the season.
All I know is that seeing that right there on the screen just probably cost me about $300 because I think I'm about to go to that game, bro. Seeing Trey Lance versus
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes week 7, that might be like a really good game, man. So
Man,
I got
yeah.
them going. I got them going 2-1. I think that they beat the Raiders. I think they'll split one. I know we got to call it, and I know I'm playing the fence right now, but I feel like they're either going to beat the Bills at home and then lose to the Niners on the road, or I feel like the Bills will come in there and it'll be redemption for them against the Niners. So I think
Yeah.
they'll split that. I'm gonna go 2-1
This is
on the
crazy,
next
man.
game.
Their first 7 games, I'm like 50-50. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if either team won. That's
Yeah.
and to open up 7 games to start your season. That's already a tough
Almost
game.
every game is like that. Like they might go, they could easily go 1-5 or 5-1, like in the
It's
same breath.
it's hard to gauge the Chiefs, man, because like obviously they still got Patrick Mahomes, but I think Tyreek Hill's a big loss, but even bigger than Tyreek Hill, I think Tyrann Mathieu is a huge loss, which is underrated, man. He was the anchor of that defense, the heart and soul of that defense. So it's tough to gauge how they'll play. I know they got a lot younger, But I think I don't know. Pat, you can never count out Patrick Mahomes.
Never count out Pat Mahomes. We both got him at 4 wins. The next couple games, it lightens up a little bit before the Chargers. So they got the Titans, Jags, and then the Chargers on the road.
Yeah.
You think they lose either of those games before the Charger game?
I don't. And I said that they'll split, so I got to give them the next 3 again. So I see them going on a 6-game win streak.
Wow.
So they'll beat the Titans, beat the Jags, beat the Chargers, heading back home to face the Rams.
I got him. I had him losing to the Chargers that game, so I got him 2-1 there. So then here's a little tough stretch: the Rams, Bengals, and Broncos. 2 of those on the road. What you thinking?
Man, I see 2 losses. I see 3 losses. I see 3 losses there.
That's
man.
tough.
The Rams is a tough game. I think just coming off the Chargers game. Obviously, that'll be an AFC battle, AFC West battle, and then to come back and play the Rams, the Super Bowl defending champs. That'll be tough in back-to-back weeks.
I think Oh, go ahead. My bad.
And then just I think Cincy's obviously a tough place to play, and Denver as well, especially in December. Those are they know it's gonna be cold. Might see some snow. That's a tough stretch there, man. Yeah.
Good point. I think that LA game they're gonna get a win. I feel like they're gonna have something to prove this entire season without Tyreek Hill. I think a lot of people are counting them out. I'll give them the win against LA, and then a tough game against the Bengals at home. I think they lose that one. We'll see. I think we'll see the Bengals come out and think that they own them, like the Chiefs. Obviously they lost last year, so I think that the Bengals will come out and try to assert their dominance again. And then the Broncos, I could see them going into Mile High and winning that game too. I just think that they're a better team than the Broncos. So I got them going 2-1 during that time. You said 0-3?
I said 0-3, yeah.
All right. And then finish us out. Texans, Seahawks, Broncos, Raiders.
I got them going 3-1 to end the season. I got them, beating the Texans. I got them beating the Seahawks easily. Yeah, and I think they beat the Broncos as well. And then last game, a lot of things on the line. I think I already said that the Raiders beat the Chiefs that week.
You did, and I got them going 3-1. The loss I think they're gonna have is to the Broncos. I think they'll split with the Broncos, even though they're a better team. I think the Broncos have been playing for something, so I got them going 3-1. I think they beat the Texans, Seahawks, and Raiders. I could see them going 4-0 during that stretch too. You got them at 10 wins. I got them at 11 wins.
Yeah,
the Vegas line right now is 10.5.
10.5. There you go. What's the
Do I got the chart?
10.5.
10.5. Do I got the Chargers winning the division?
You do.
I think I do. Unfortunately, I do. I think I got the Chargers winning the division, man.
Talk live broadcast right now. He got the Chargers winning the division.
Live, and this is the schedule, man. Sometimes it's the schedule, and that's what matters more than anything. Chiefs got a tough-ass schedule, especially to open up the season. Mahomes without Hill is not good. I think that's the opposite. I think Mahomes is going to be unlocked this year without Tyreek Hill. May not show up in the wins and losses, but I think it'll show up for this Chiefs team that'll have a pretty good year.
I agree. I mentioned it, man. I think we'll see a different Patrick Mahomes because I think Patrick Mahomes at times tried to force, the long ball to Tyreek Hill, trying to just force some things to Tyreek Hill that necessarily weren't there. It got him in trouble last year a little bit. Yeah. So like I said, I think we'll see him just make the right play this year. He's got a lot of new weapons. So I think he'll just make the right play this year.
Well, that's, we had a little bit more time. We go over the Denver schedule, but unfortunately we don't. We talked a lot about Donovan Mitchell getting traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers, Colin Sexton going to the Utah Jazz, and a heavy, heavy deal that brings Donovan Mitchell to the Cavs. Any parting thoughts on that deal, man?
No, man. It's just interesting. NBA season, I know it's football season next week, but NBA season's right around the corner, man. We're a week away from NFL, actually.
A week away, baby. We starting up next week.
Yeah. Who you got? Bills, Rams, week 1. Who you got?
Bills, Rams, week 1. Give me the Bills.
Bills?
Give me the Bills to make some noise this year. Give me the Bills to make some. I'll probably change my thought on that. By next week, I'm going to be saying something else. So.
Yeah. How's it's interesting, man. Matthew Stafford, that elbow. Looking a little sketchy.
That could be a factor this year. Hopefully it's not for him. I want to see the Rams at full strength because they're going to be dynamic. Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, that does it for another episode of Talk Yo Talk. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We'll have more stuff coming your way all season long. Peace out.
Yes, sir. Peace.